listening to On the Way Home with your host, Michael Braithwaite.
Welcome to another episode of On the Way Home. I am your host, Michael Braithwaite, and I work at the amazing Blue Door with over 150 people doing the real heavy lifting. Check us out at bluedoor.ca. You'll see the incredible work our team's doing in the areas of housing, homelessness, meaningful employment, well-paid employment, and with health links as well. Lots of stuff going on at Blue Door. We're in the process of launching a Housing for All land trust, where we're getting properties both donated in extra housing or different units of housing through municipalities and through other partners, as well as looking to build housing moving forward and keeping it deeply affordable in perpetuity. It's been quite a journey, and it's a great way to increase the housing, the deeply affordable housing supply for our most vulnerable. Check us out, bluedoor.ca. And hey, listen, if you have, you want to be a guest, you know of someone who should be a guest, you want to give us some feedback on the podcast, reach out to me, michael.b@bluedoor.ca. Would love to chat with you and love to hear your thoughts. Let's get to today's guest. I have with me Cari from Via Hafta. Cari is the CEO there. And we talk about the name Via Hafta because it's like, what does that mean? And she talks about that. It's very cool and meaningful. Via Hafta is an organization working in the GTA, providing essential services to vulnerable individuals. We talk about some of the work they're doing. They have an outreach van that's been going for about 30 years, providing sandwiches and support. Gives people and largely born out of the Jewish community, but really reaches beyond that to everyone, and it's been doing it for 30 years, giving back, and it gives volunteers an opportunity to be a part of the solution. There are staff and volunteers in the van that go out and they just see that they're being part of the solution. They're giving people love and warmth and care as they do that, and they've been doing that a long time, and they've branched out for the last while into employment services. Cari talks a little bit about why they were doing the reactive stuff, which is very important, getting people food, love and warmth, that kind of thing, for many years. They also thought, what's a pathway forward? They've done that through some of their employment programs. She talks about the incredible outcomes they've had through those programs, the fact that they're putting close to 400 people a year through that, and they have a waiting list of, I think, almost 5 times that they could put through, and having huge success that way. And you just feel her passion throughout the podcast for helping others, not blaming systems, but wanting to get more people involved to be part of the solution. Just talking about if everyone gave a little bit back, what a different world this would be. It's a fantastic conversation with an inspiring person. Let's go to that conversation now. Cari, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me here. Really excited.
We ask all our guests the same question because it's very personal and individual to each of them. And that is, what does home mean to you?
So home, I think, means to me authenticity and freedom. And what I mean by that is that home is the place where we can be authentically ourselves. No filter, no show, no any of that. And home is the freedom to be authentically yourself. That's how I see it.
Beautifully said. And I love how it's just, that's wonderfully said. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey into this work? We often say that, when we're having career day early when we were young, this kind of work doesn't pop up often. How did you get here?
So it's funny you should say that, career day. I have a son who is in grade 10 and he's my youngest, and I hate the grade 10 careers course because all 15-year-olds go through the careers course in grade 10 and then become all anxious about, I don't know what I want to do. Should I be a doctor, a lawyer, a fireman, like they know 10 careers and that's it. And I always say to my kids, you're not supposed to know when you're 15, and the things on your list, what you'll probably wind up being, is something that was never on your list. And what I do is certainly was never on my list. I actually worked in the for-profit world for the first half of my career. So for 21 years, I was in the natural health field in a for-profit space running natural health clinics. So this move into nonprofit is a second career for me. And specifically in the social services, a real jump from where I started. So I was in the for-profit entrepreneurial space, natural health field, and then I wanted a change. And I had been volunteering with my synagogue for many, many years and really loved the work that I was doing. And it was suggested to me when I was considering a career change, and I was actually studying with a rabbi who said to me, would you ever consider becoming the executive director of a synagogue? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So he said, go home and Google it. So I belonged to a very small synagogue where volunteers did all of this kind of work. And I was like, man, I've been doing this for free for 10 years and I really loved it. And so I applied and I became the executive director of one synagogue. And then I went to an even larger synagogue. And then the opportunity at Wehrhafte came up, and it was, for me, a perfect fit. One of the things that I loved about moving into a nonprofit space, especially within the Jewish community, is I'm really passionate about Judaism and the teachings of Judaism. And so working in, devoting my career life to working in that space was really rewarding for me. But as I worked there as a professional, one of the frustrations I had was that there was so much in Judaism. Studying Torah, which is the Bible, is a very central part of what we do as Jewish people, as is prayer. So there's a lot of prayer, which are saying really meaningful, beautiful words, and there's study of the Torah, which is studying meaningful and beautiful words. And I felt that we needed to do more to create action, ways for people to actually action these values and do them rather than talk about them. And so when Wehrhafte came along, it was a perfect fit for me because here was a way to mobilize members of the Jewish community and beyond the Jewish community through the volunteer part of the program, so of the organization. So that's how I wound up at Wehrhafte, and it's been a perfect fit for me. Social services and working with people facing extreme poverty was brand new to me. It is no longer. So there was a big learning for me. But it's probably valuable for me to explain the organization a little bit more because we are a Jewish organization, but we serve people of all faiths and backgrounds. And our mandate is to provide meaningful assistance to people who are facing extreme poverty while simultaneously mobilizing members of the Jewish and broader community to roll up their sleeves and play an active role through meaningful hands-on volunteer experiences. So it's a pretty complex organization in that we are serving this population who are currently experiencing homelessness, and increasingly people who have experienced homelessness who are looking to get back into the workforce. And then embedded intentionally in all of our programs are ways for regular people, ordinary people, to play a role in direct service as a part of all of our programs.
So maybe say like it's for community by community, right? Community is very much involved. Tell me about some of the programs that you do, because it can't be everything to everyone. What do you focus in on, and how are you making a difference?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our services are divided into, we have a mobile outreach program that's geared to help people. So we literally meet people where they are while they're experiencing extreme poverty and homelessness. So we have a mobile outreach van that goes out, two of them actually, that go out 7 nights a week, providing service to people in the downtown core and North York and Scarborough while they're experiencing homelessness. The van goes out with professional outreach staff who are, trained in this field and to work with folks from this population, along with 3 volunteers. Each van can carry 3 volunteers per shift. They go around to these areas and provide hot, nutritious meals, cold meals to save for the next day, clothing, harm reduction supplies for safe drug consumption, as well as clothing and hygiene supplies for folks. And the model of the outreach van program is entirely on a harm reduction model. So it's designed to support people while they're experiencing the worst time in their lives, and to minimize the harm that that experience can have on them. Our goal is to really create dignity, connections, compassion between people, and to really break down stigmas associated by the broader population that they hold about people who are experiencing homelessness. And we do that by bringing ordinary people out as volunteers, and they're tasked with providing service to folks who are experiencing homelessness. So they're making coffee and offering meals and finding clothing at the request of the folks that we're serving. And so that's the first part of our services. And then we provide a path for people to travel through based on their own interests, their own needs, in pursuit of ultimately employment. So we build relationships with folks while we're serving them on the mobile outreach van. They develop connections with our staff and with our volunteers. And when they are ready to take next steps in their lives, they will often refer themselves into our subsequent programs, which are all geared to create this path that folks can travel. And then we offer, in that area, we offer 3 lines of service. The first is just straight life stabilization. So this is one-on-one work with our social workers to work on life stabilization pieces. So this is housing, identification, social assistance, income, addiction, mental health services, et cetera. So it's a lot of service navigation and support, individual support. We also offer a series of programs designed to develop pre-employment skills, so skills to prepare people to enter the workforce. This can include things like soft skills, communication, conflict resolution, problem solving, presentation skills, how to conduct yourself in a Canadian workplace, those kinds of things, as well as hard skills. So we run 2 for people who are interested in careers in the food service industry. We have a food prep program, and we have also a warehouse and inventory management program. And in those programs, folks are paid to work in an internship placement in our kitchen and in our warehouse. The kitchen and the warehouse operate in service of our mobile outreach van. So folks in those programs are either sorting and inventorying the items that we distribute, or they're preparing the meals that we serve out on the van. And in that way, they're getting work-related experience and hard skills in the specific industry. And then the last area of service that we have are actual employment services. So that's very new to us. We've recently received a contract with Employment Ontario to now be delivering actual employment placement services. And that's just started a week ago. So very, very new for us. We have been working with folks on doing career counseling as a part of our pre-employment program for quite a few years now. And now this is sort of the last stop. So our story is basically, we literally meet people where they are on the streets of the city, and we help them navigate through a path that lands them ultimately in employment. And our ultimate goal is to end poverty one person at a time. So it's a very individually focused goal. And we believe that the path out of extreme poverty is through employment, based on the hopelessness that social assistance, reliance on social assistance, keeps people trapped in a stuck place of such extreme poverty that the path out of that is through employment. And while certainly earning minimum wage is not going to make somebody independently wealthy or living a fabulous lifestyle in the city of Toronto, we know that reliance on social assistance means relying on less than $9,000 in income per year, whereas minimum wage is more like $35,000 per year. And there is a path upwards and outwards when a person is earning their own money and gainfully employed. So that's us in a nutshell.
What is your team telling you and your volunteers? What are they seeing now? as they're out in the van, as they're talking to people? What's changed over the last year? And what are some of the biggest challenges that we're facing with vulnerable populations you serve?
So we're facing different things depending on different services. So in our mobile outreach services for folks who are experiencing homelessness, we see obviously a significant increase in the number of people who are being trying to use the shelter system, being turned away from the shelter system on a nightly basis. We see longer lines, more people requiring service, new people requiring service. And that's echoing what we know from the data that's been released by the food banks and the increase in food insecurity and food bank usage. We're all familiar with that. So we're seeing a lot of that. Over the last few years, especially since COVID, we've seen obviously a tremendous challenge around the safe drug supply, and the kinds of drugs that folks are using and exposed to, and the dangers associated with that. That's been a massive shift in kind of the culture on the street, which sounds like a funny thing, but if you're familiar with the people that we serve and what the street is like and what folks are like, in the downtown area, we've really seen a shift in, I guess you would call it the culture. That it's a harsher environment. It is more dangerous. People are more volatile. There is more, there are more outbursts. There are more of those kinds of things. All the things, I guess, that people kind of fear and have as stereotypes about what people who are experiencing homelessness are like. And there's definitely a move more towards that than there was in the past.
And what geographically, where you said most of the GTA, is that kind of where you were saying?
So we in the downtown area. So our service, so we serve in the suburban area. So North York and Scarborough are new routes for us. We've only been serving there for the last, I'd say, 3 years. But we've been serving downtown Toronto for it's almost 30 years now that we've been running
Wow.
our mobile outreach van, and we have seen, a significant shift in folks out there.
And in the huge generosity of the Jewish community as well, right? You've been at this for over 30 years. I think it started probably as most nonprofits do, just with some people coming together, throwing funds together, and you build it up with
Grassroots.
government funds. Yeah, grassroots, right? What are the hopes for the future, Carrie, for your wonderful organization? What do you want to do next?
So for us, we're really excited about and focused on our employment programs and services, and we're seeing tremendous success out of our pre-employment and our life stabilization programs, and it's really exciting. We've been operating our mobile outreach van, like I said, for about 30 years, and it has been entirely through the generosity of mostly the Jewish community. We've never received government funding to operate that program, and it has, it's grown in sophistication and costs, and it is supported through the belief of the Jewish community that we are required to care for our neighbor. That's what our name means. So Verhafta, everyone says, like, why do you have that name? It's so hard to spell. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. Why do you have that name? You have to change the name. And Verhafta is actually a Hebrew word, and it means "and you shall love." Literally, it means
Love
"and
it.
you shall love." And it comes from that line in the Bible that many people are familiar with. That's actually the most often repeated commandment in the entire Torah Bible. And it is that you shall love your neighbor or the stranger or the other among you as you love yourself. And it really speaks to our belief that we are required to care for the vulnerable people around us. So our mobile outreach van has providing this service for many, many years. And there is always this nagging feeling of, okay, but what is it doing to solve the problem? Right? Like, we know it's a harm reduction model. We know it's necessary. We know we save lives. We know we give people food that people who would otherwise not eat that day because they tell us so. But it was really a challenge to say, okay, so we do this. What's next for folks? What can we offer them next? And so we've been operating these pre-employment and life stabilization programs we're just coming up to about 15 years with those, and they've become increasingly effective, and we have a 95% success rate with the programs. We define success with our programs. So let me clarify, not 95% getting employed. We've defined success in those programs as across 3 specific outcomes. So one of them is employment. So before our employment services started, we were getting about a third of people were becoming employed as a result of the programs, which was pretty impressive given that we were really focused on pre-employment and we didn't provide actual job placement in our services. That wasn't something that we had done. Then we have about 45% of folks who were going on to further training or education following the programs. The rationale there is that when we can help people restore some confidence and some faith in themselves and to have some connections with peers and have a social worker supporting them, then they're more likely to, it's a success, right? And they're willing to take a chance and sign up for training and skills development somewhere else. So that's a big chunk of folks. And then there is a section of folks that just were able to connect to life stabilizing programs as a result of our programs. So these are folks who would become housed, who would be enrolled in addiction treatment services, mental health services, physical health services, and that was the remainder, and that makes up the outcomes of our programs. We've grown a lot over the years. I've been with Wehrhafte since 2017, and in 2018, we graduated 37 people out of our pre-employment programs. In 2024, we graduated 301 people out of our programs. This year, we're set to graduate. Our targets are to graduate 420 people out of those same programs. So we are looking to help people that need our help and to grow in our capacity until we're not needed anymore. And that is our hope that, obviously that poverty will be ended and services like ours will simply not be needed. But unfortunately, last year in 2024, for those 300 spots, we had 2,100 applicants. And so as long as people need our services, me and my team and I are incredibly motivated that it is our moral obligation to grow the organization efficiently, effectively, cost effectively, so that we can provide service to as many people as need these services. We know they work. We know they change people's lives. So we're just on fire to be able to provide that for as many people as needed.
That's incredible. I can definitely sense the passion that you have as the leader, and I'm sure that's contagious. And you're right. I mean, we've got to do a lot of the reactive work, but you're looking at, hey, how do we kind of go around and really come up with solutions? And I mean, I quote often, like when we look at food banks, more food isn't the answer. It's actually affordability, income, housing affordability, and then people can afford the food they need, right?
Yeah.
But we're band-aiding it a little bit. We need those band-aids, don't get me wrong, and they're good, but let's be solution focused. Sounds like Wehrhafte absolutely is. What do you think has to change for the reduction of poverty to come around? We see numbers recently through the Association of Municipalities Ontario saying there's 80,000 people across Ontario experiencing homelessness. That could grow to 300,000 if drastic measures aren't taken. Let's talk about, in your mind, what are some of those drastic measures we have to take so we see improvement beyond the incredible outcomes that your team's providing?
It's such a tough question because, our approach is so intentionally not systems based. And I say intentionally because, when we've been at these crossroads where we've said, how do we solve this problem? What are we doing? What are we Wehrhafte doing in this space? And obviously there are a lot of people who are working in advocacy, who are working in systems change, who are working in policy change. And we made a decision that wasn't a good space for us, that where we excelled and where our strength was in this one person at a time. So our approach is very much based on really seeing the folks that are coming through our programs and services as individual people, and providing the most fulsome support to them that they need to get themselves out of poverty. So I can't speak with a lot of authority about what I think needs to change globally on a systems basis. So I want to sort of give you that caveat. But, loosely, and this will sound like kind of a hippie sort of answer, and I'm the furthest thing from a hippie, I assure you. But there needs to be a greater recognition of justice in our world. There are people who have a tremendous, tremendous amount, and there are people who have absolutely nothing. There are businesses that are making unprecedented profits that aren't giving back and sharing that wealth and creating justice in a world that we live in. So, I have the incredible privilege of working both with the population that we serve, who really deeply inspire me with incredible resilience and optimism, even in the face of incredibly harsh circumstances. But I also have the privilege of knowing our very wealthy donors who support our work. And something that I found consistently amongst our donors that really shocked me when I first got to Ve'ahavta, a donor will make a commitment and write a check for me for $180,000. And when I call up to thank him, he says, no, 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 thank you, Cari. And I'm like, why are you thanking me? You just wrote us a check for this. And what he means, and it's not just him, it's donors who write $18 checks, donors who write $180 checks, and donors who write $180,000 checks, are thanking me for the opportunity to do something to make the world a better place. And I take such inspiration from that because I feel like if more people capitalized on a natural sentiment that we are, as a Jewish person and in our faith, we believe that each of us is called upon to make the world a better place than how we found it. We're supposed to use our skills, our talents, our resources to contribute to making the world more fair, more just, better in some way. And Ve'ahavta as an organization provides a way for people to do that. But there are lots of ways for lots of people to do that. And it's really important that we each recognize our individual responsibility. And I think that if every person recognized that individual responsibility, and that went all the way up to CEOs of grocery stores and landowners and all of these places, we would have a very, very different society, right? So that's my hippie answer to you, what I see as a solution.
No, that's awesome. I love it. And younger folks here who may not know the hippie reference, Google
Oh
it.
God, did I date myself?
Google. I know what you're talking about, but I know some really hippie. What? Google it up. That's what we can tell you. Listen, if people want to get involved, they want to volunteer, they want to give, they want to find out more about Ve'ahavta, where can they go?
So come to our website, Ve'ahavta. So this is this difficult name that we have, ve'ahavta.org. And you can sign up and volunteer. You can go out on our mobile outreach van. You can cook in our kitchen. You can work in our warehouse. You can facilitate courses that we teach in our pre-employment skills training programs. So we have people from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds. While we are a Jewish organization, we mobilize people from the Jewish and the broader community as volunteers and as donors, and we provide service to people of all faiths and backgrounds, and we always have. It's really essential to our mandate. So I will spell for everyone. It's V like Victor, EAHAVTA.org. And I invite you to come and join us. It's an incredible way to find, I think that so many people today are really searching for meaning and purpose in their life. And this is what really drew me to Ve'ahavta was here's a way, you don't have to boil the ocean. You don't have to figure out, social policy. You don't need to do those things. What you need to do is you need to want to help. And then all you need to do is roll up your sleeves. And there are easy ways to do it, harder ways to do it. You can volunteer in our outreach van that operates at night after work, and that's, pretty tough work. but fascinating and deeply, deeply meaningful. You can make sandwiches at home and drop them off to our offices if that's more your jam. And there are just so many ways for people to become involved. And the point is that if everybody rolls up their sleeves and everybody plays a part, we have a very different world. And that's just a reality. And that's within each of
100%.
our grip. That's within each of us can do this, because somebody who writes a check for $18 is helping at the same way as somebody who is writing a check for 180,000. The person who is making sandwiches is helping in the same way that the person who volunteers on the outreach van. And that's really a lot of the point of our organization, is that we each have a role that we are required to play, and there is a way to play it. We just have to show up. And that's my message to everyone. Please show up, come and show up. And what you give, and we hear this from our volunteers all the time. It's like, again, I'm not allowed to thank volunteers. When I thank volunteers, they're like, no, thank you. And again, like, why are you thanking me? Like, you're coming here and giving your time. And I know why they're thanking me, because they've been given a chance to do something to make their world a better place. And they always say, I've gotten so much more than I've given. I have received so much more from doing this than I ever gave to you. So don't thank me, I'm thanking you. Incredible. It's
So
very,
cool.
very moving.
Absolutely. And I imagine you'd be all like on social media, you can find Viahafta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all over the place. So folks, be a part of the solution. Check it out. If you're in the GT area, what a great way to really be part of the solution. I encourage you to do that. Cari, thank you so much for all you do, what your team does, the volunteers. You're making a huge impact, and I so appreciate your time coming on the way home today.
Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting with you, and you're doing incredible work as well. Thank you.
You're listening to On the Way Home with your host, Michael Braithwaite.